intuitively I can go boom and break it, right?
Yeah, you don't even have to think about that.
The intellectual approach would be, how do I want to break that? And that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
But in order for that to occur, and I go back to my coaching training, is, well, Danny, you want to break that? Okay, we know you can just slam your fist, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what other ways can you break it?
I can kick it across the room.
Exactly. So now, all I'm doing, and this is how I share, and this and my whole life with people. I don't tell people what to do anymore because nobody listens to me anyway. But doing so, it robs the other individual of their own discovery. So my thing is like, well, Danny, how else could you do that? It's like, okay, well, after you maybe rattle off 2 or 3 or 4, then I always take a very Socratic approach to this. Like, are you sure that's it? Is there anything else? I mean, could you do something with your elbows? Now I know where I'm taking you, right? Yeah. But I want you to discover what you can do with your elbows. And one of the things, and this and by the way, for all you, again, don't at me at anything. This is just an observation. It's not a criticism. I want to be absolutely clear. Is that I see a lot of martial artists who are working with and or teaching students, and they want to take that telling, the managerial approach of how to do. I'm going to tell you how to get this done. I'm going to tell you how to do it. Maybe in the beginning you need that again to build that trust
based on the student.
Yeah. But at a certain point, and I don't think it's much beyond the opening level belts or structure, whatever your structure is, that you can start, communicating with that student and saying, all right, let's develop you as a fighter. Because you might be lagging behind the rest of the class, or you might be excelling through the class. But it's incumbent upon me as a person who's put in charge of you to bring you along, to develop you as far as I can take you, right? And candidly, I don't see that a whole lot. I see people who are in charge of students, I'll put it that way, who believe they do that and do it to a certain degree. But again, I go back to leadership versus management. Management is saying, I got to put a ladder against the wall. I'm going to show you how to put the ladder against the wall. Leadership is determining which wall that ladder needs to go on. It's just a different way of looking at it, right? So, and again, nothing critical about anybody out there. It's just observation. Both work for the student. Ultimately, the student has to ask themselves, okay, where am I in this? If they're even cognizant to ask themselves this, where am I in this? And does this still suit me, or should I go somewhere else? And I have this conversation a lot with a lot of martial artists, and they wrestle with, well, do I leave my sensei? Do I leave my sifu? Do I leave my master? Do I leave this? And my ultimate question to them is like, well, are they still serving you in the manner that you are seeking from them? And invariably the answer is generally no. That's why they're having this discussion. But they get caught up in the tradition of, well, I should stay with it and see all the way through.
Loyalty jumps in.
Loyalty jumps in, and there's something to be said for that. And I will share with you what I share with them. It's like, this is a conversation that you need to have with your whomever, and that's part of your martial training as well. Is stepping up to that adversity, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that Danny will always say, even before we get the students started, is go look everywhere else first.
Yeah.
Come back and tell us, when you're ready to talk to us, come back.
Yeah.
Go see what's out there. Enjoy the time with it. And if it's you, it's
see
you.
if you like it or not.
Yeah.
There's this thing that I used to say. The student doesn't find the art, but it's the art that finds the student. Think about what that means.
No, yeah,
right?
I think you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can be this one student, I want to go do this. But there is no way that would work. No, but that's what I want. No, the student does not find the art. The art is the one that finds the student, because when that student comes to them, they just know, this is perfect for me. And it's because of that the motivation that goes into finding, or when that art finally hits you and gets to you and said, we can work together.
Yep.
That's what I want to see.
I absolutely agree with that, and I fall into. First off, I think everybody kind of falls into that, but I think the approach is critical in my mind. It's crucial, because you'll have people who's like, I've only done this art and I've done it for 40 years. No, God bless you.
Yeah.
You have depth. You will have depth. I will never see. That's why I'll never be
yeah.
on ranking wise. I'll never be on what I am because there's time in the seat, right? But that person has depth, and if they've done it right, there should be a significant amount of depth in that one specific style. Then you have the person who is like, well, you know, I did judo for a little while, I did kempo for a little while, I did this for a little while, but you know, they may be a 4th or 5th degree black belt in whatever art they're in, and I think that also falls into the art finds the student. But I think where we as a community as a whole kind of, let me say the negative and the positive. The negative part, the community as a whole, I don't think we overtly and overly support the student going from one place to another until they find that fit. Because that benefits the student, but also benefits the instructor or the school owner who does that as well, because they're like, well, I don't want to lose the revenue. That's a factor. It's a business. I'm not going to lie. But if they were open to that, overtly open, I think they would end up probably in the same place they are now, with students who will be there longer and be more dedicated and probably better in the art. Okay.
They were looking out for that student
That's
for one.
And vice versa.
right. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, because we have a student very much like that, Naeem.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I love what I'm doing here. And you guys leave the door open for me anytime to go and look for something else. But yet, I want to be here.
Well, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up. It's like I've been fortunate under several instructors, and most recent to mine is both Grandmaster Green as well as Grandmaster Ron Estella and Makaji Kempo, to go out and say, you check with them first. Say, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. It's like, go, bring it home,
right?
But go. And I've seen in a lot of the extremely traditional arts that is not a factor. The students, again, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of the students, the majority of those folks are feel they can't move, is primarily from a lot of the traditional arts.
Right.
But when you look at the history of everything, that is the art. So, again, no criticism, just observations and sharing. If you're a student, and you're looking, just make sure you give it time to figure out what works best for you, because ultimately, you're going to pay the price if it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you will reap the reward if it does work for you. I pray to God every day, every moment that you never have to live that out.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that
I hate
I've noticed too, is that, you get into a system and they pretty much tell you can't look anywhere else. While you're here, this is it. And Danny and I have always believed that you're paying for something, you're giving us money to give you something. It's yours. Do whatever you want, whether you stay here or not, whatever. I'm only giving you what you paid for. And if you stop paying, then go somewhere else. And that's up to you, the individual.
No, listen, I think you ought to be paid. Well, it's funny. People think, the old days of martial arts weren't, the masters weren't paid. Bullshit. They were paid with rice. They were paid with chickens. They were paid with pigs.
The guy would clean the house.
And what? Right, exactly. And
I did that in my Kempo school.
Yeah. Well, there's one school I was there for about a month. Where the new people had to sweep out the change area. But there's nothing wrong with that. The payment just went from chickens and rice and pigs to cash, and even if you are gracious, if somebody's gracious enough to teach you what they know for free, that's a true blessing. Because I'll tell you, I don't share for free, because my time is worth something. Right. I'm taking time away from my family, and that's time that I could be spending with them to share something with you. I will charge you a fee, because I think it's important that, one, my time is respected, but more importantly, if I give it to you for free, most people don't respect free stuff, regardless of the value. Bruce Lee could teach you for free, and people would still walk away, because it's just something about the psychology of that.
Danny had a theory with that. He say, if they have to give you money, they're going to come back, because there's a value to what's going on.
It's the Western mind.
Yeah.
Not so. To me, it's not the value, but it's more the motivation. Right?
I gave him some.
The student paid me. I need to be there.
Yeah.
I can't say, what, I feel like going to the movies today. Hey, there's a good show. I can't teach class.
Don't come to class.
No, I'm not going to be there to teach.
So go back to your lesson. There it is, right?
There it is.
It literally goes from one to the. And then there's nothing wrong with this as long as you're not gouging your student. Your student comes out with something of value that they perceive to be value. Right, that's
It
what-
could have been like the $5
Yes.
per lesson, right?
Yeah.
It's the motivation to get them to the door and say, hey, I need to come through that door as well to be there to teach. But you paid me and you're not going to show up?
My cheapest coaching session is $300 for an hour.
Wow.
And I charge that because the person, am I worth $300 per hour? Well, that person sees the thing as they keep paying for where they have it, the COVID stuff, I wiped it. But the reason I charge that is because I'm doing this before my day job, right? And I'm getting up, I'm already up, but I'm spending, from 7 to 8 on the time, 7 in the morning, 8 o'clock, which is my time. Takes away from my meditations or
So
whatever.
Danny, we got to give him $300 after this. Apparently,
Okay.
I didn't. We didn't talk about that earlier. So, you have your checkbook?
Did you sign for it? Did you sign for it?
I forgot to
I'm
ask.
sorry. I seen adobo and pancetta, and lumpia would be the bonus.
There you go.
It's okay. But the you guys kill me. But the reason I do that is because the client pays attention,
Right.
and that
They better.
ironically is the craziness of it all.
And that's the value part.
Exactly.
Is that they have to do it.
Yep. So
It's
fell my low for me.
wow. This has been actually very interesting. I like the topics that we've been touching on. Do you have any questions about us? I mean, I know, like I said, we're like babes in the wood. We're very pretty much the new guys on the block.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out.
Because we do talk a lot. You and I, and you and
yeah,
Danny.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I guess the
You
question,
already have it. Most of it.
but the question that I have for you is, why do you feel the need to break rank with the traditional Filipino approach?
I
How's that?
personally, I don't think it was even intentional.
It never is.
It's just-
It never is.
That's just the way that I was brought up. My own influences, my own personality is what drives us, right? If that was being done to me, I would appreciate that. Again, for the way that we treat our students, if that individual that initially taught me gave me that same feeling, that's what I'm trying to pay
Right,
forward in a sense, right? So when Doug Makaya, my FMA, my first FMA, first and only FMA teacher, instructor, he taught me basically the same way that it was still more or less on the one-on-one, more of the family thing. There was personal guidance outside of the class because we were that close. But at the same time, that I already had that sense, and that's why we hit it off really well because of that. It wasn't this old, again, maybe the old Western way of teaching. He didn't go that route with us. So again, I'm just paying that forward, along with my own ways of treating people. That's what drives us to do that. Like I said, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't something that, okay, this is the way because we can get people in this way. No, this is the way we are already. So let's just continue that and let's not break from that.
So I think I asked this from each of you separately, but I'm curious since we're here together, is what are you hoping to get out of doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for anything really in specific.
Yeah, me neither.
Then why do you do it?
Just
For
for
the
the love of the
love?
up. Yeah.
Well, that's
I
what
just
you're
for
love
the
doing
love.
it, yeah.
Well, the love of what?
Of our,
Well,
are we going to call it art or system? Well, just for the love of just doing it. I mean, I also do balloons, as you know, right? I make animal balloons, and I rarely
That's a
charge.
whole conversation.
I know.
Yeah.
I rarely charge when I do that.
Right.
I'll do it as I only do it for friends and family now. But even then, I just say, oh, just invite me and it's free. But if I have to charge you, then you're hiring me. Then I have to give you a bill,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. So just invite me to the party, and I'm there because I love making balloons and creating things. And it's very much the same thing with the blade of mine.
So that's where I want to get to. Since we're having a conversation and we're getting the cameras there, what is it? So that love to do this at no charge to for the kids, obviously you garner some value out of that. I'm gonna have the same question for you in a minute.
Sure.
But what is that with regards to the bladed mind that gets you out there teaching every day? And actually, and we've shared this, so there's no big secret. You catch a lot of shit, both of you, from the Philippine community for doing what you're doing. Why do you do that?
I think my main reason, and it's aside from that, Danny gave it to me the way he gave it to me. I've had friends and sometimes we've had problems like assaults and things like that, and that's why I went 100% into teaching a rape prevention class, which I now bequeath to Risa to teach. But I was given this class because I wanted to help anybody who needed the help, and I didn't want them to have to pay an arm and a leg for a lesson like that. So for me, it was more about, I'm trying to be compassionate to people that I know that could use this stuff, and I don't need to make money off of that. Why am I going to charge you to help you save your own life? By giving it to you free, I'm saving your life so that you can do it yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't need that. I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I can get money off the balloons. But I just enjoy doing that because I'm giving something to some other people, which was given to me. Danny never charged me, other than me having to buy food or lunch or whatever. So for me, it was just the love of being able to do something for somebody else and give them, what I got, and hope that it will help them in their lives.
I find joy. I find joy
Thank
in
you.
teaching. And
That was my
sharing.
next. That was my
And,
next.
yeah. But the joy of seeing that aha moment in the student, that's one of the greatest things. When they finally clicks to them, and then they thank you for it. Oh, I just never saw it that way before.
Yeah,
And it was just
and that's funny you said, because I remember that one time that Naeem had that aha moment. We both got swords out of it. Remember? He's like, hey guys, everybody picture it, and he bought them somewhere, and I know they're pretty good. Remember the nice ones? I was like, wow, we didn't have to do this, but he was like, no, I really appreciate what you guys have done, and you're right, that moment is precious because we got
It's not about the sword.
No, it's
No,
not.
no,
The fact
it
that
was
the thoughtfulness
the
of
thought
You
of
touch
him.
something.
yeah.
See, that's the ultimate thing that, again, founded Simon Sinek's, start with the why. Why is the cruciality of everything that we do? Cruciality, did I make a word up? Maybe I did. At everything that I do, and I think everybody should do, because I think your life becomes much simpler when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the sword, it wasn't about the sword. It was the fact that you got recognized for touching somebody at a level, what I call the soul level, for have them go out and want to do that for you.
Right.
It's funny. I'm a blend of both of you. The joy of teaching, I love that.
Yeah.
The fact of that seeing somebody get it and the accolades you get with that, I love that too. Because what you spoke to was the fact that, okay, I'm in the right place doing the right things. What you're talking about is self-development. It's like I'm sharpening my knife against their stone, because as you teach them, at least for me, as you share with them, I'm growing with them. Because all of a sudden it's like somebody will do something and you're like, okay, I've seen that move 1,000. What are you doing differently? I remember I was working with Becca one time, and she was doing, what the hell are you doing? And she's kind of like, I don't know, doing what you showed me. And I'm just like, do it again. And what it was is her foot was a little out of place. Now I know this seems like some, but it shocked me that I realized that her foot was a little bit out of place, and that I saw that in a movement somewhere. Now, if you asked me to describe that to you right now, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I could tell you in that moment, oh, no, I'm growing. I'm developing because I'm seeing this in somebody else. And it goes back to the Native Americans talk about the circle, right? Not half Native American, half Portuguese. And the Native Americans talk about the circle. Within that circle, there's a thing they call the spirit that runs through all things. And my Christian friends call him God. But that spirit that runs through all things is that keeps us connected, both, the spirit of the plant, the spirit of the wind, the spirit of the sky. Well, in that movement, there's spirit. It's their mana, as they say. It's that mana. And as people are doing their movement, your spirit and your energy is being drawn into that. Nick Moreno does this whole thing on energy and the flower of life stuff, which is way up here.
Yes,
I'm
we know.
way down here.
Yeah.
But in essence of what, as I understand it, as I believe I understand that he says, that we're talking the same thing, is that in order for us to really be significant in each other's worlds and lives, there has to be a sharing. There has to be a sharing of something beyond just this to this, this to this, right? Sharing happens here.
Yeah.
And what happens there is when you lower everything down and you get close, like when you're playing, and then if you're laughing, that's your spirit talking. Now I'm getting deep on you guys, but that's my belief. So what I love about the martial arts, and particularly what we do, is we call it play, stick fighting,
Right.
because you are playing, and when you're playing, you're relaxed. When you're relaxed, you learn more. So I can go on for hours about that. I'll just stop there.
You know, and I say the same thing about the students, and I spoke about this a couple of times already on the colleague conversation, in that we make the students teach right away, or as soon as they're able to, because it does make them grow.
Oh, that's been
When
proven.
when they show something to somebody else, it corrects all the bad things that they were doing. And we started to get that, we started to see that more and more often. So now I make it a point to get somebody, even if it's the simplest thing, go teach this to the newest guy.
Yeah, it's funny. I do the same thing because that comes from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he talks about how if you really want to learn it intuitively, as soon as you learn it, teach it, because what it does, it forces the mind of the individual who's teaching it to break it down to its components, right? So if we do this, we all know this move, right? Boom, boom, boom. Actually, let's do something else down here. Okay. So this movement's
I know
very.
this.
Yeah, I've been there before.
We'll work with this. So if
Okay.
I'm doing this, right, that's an easy motion, right? But now teach that motion. Well, whatever it is like, yeah, just do this, right? Now you're that's demonstration. That's just demonstration. I'm demonstrating you the movement. Teaching or sharing would be like, okay, when you do this, this elbow has to be pointed, and you lead with the pinky, not the arm. The pinky pulls the arm forward. This is how I share. Pinky pulls the arm forward with the whipping action of the wrist to actually inflict that last cut. That keeps you relaxed and keeps you quick. In order for me to share that with somebody, I had to sit there in a dark
Make
room.
sure it was I'm doing it right.
In a dark room and break down that movement. So I had to sit down and break down that movement. So going back to what you were saying that you do with your students, that coincides with and correlates to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's exactly that. I learned something.
Yeah.
Now if I teach it or share it, now I know it intimately. Now once I get to knowing it intimately, I can manipulate it. That's what you
And
guys
that's
do.
exactly
And that's what
what
we're
we-
trying to do.
Exactly. So let me ask you guys something. So what is your number one function with the bladed mind?
Mission statement?
Yeah.
Sure.
I want to refer that one to Danny only because I have a different idea of it anyway. So let me have Danny go first.
So let me frame it for you so we have
Rephrase.
clarity. You're standing in front of the creator. The creator says, well done. Tell me what you did with the bladed mind. And is that what you wanted to do?
All right. I have to think about what the bladed mind is first, right? And what it is. What was my vision for that? It is, in a sense, FMA, because it's the venue of that bladed mind that we're trying to show. It could have been any art, but with this mindset, the mindset of how we share it, how we teach it, that we teach the mind first, to be able that the body can then follow. That is the bladed mind. If we want to call it a system, it is, but it's a way of teaching. Is the primary goal is to be able to teach and for the student to comprehend this way of learning. It's different from, let's just say the Western way of thinking. It's different in the sense that how we teach it to you and how you are to grow it within yourself. That, to me, was the primary goal of the bladed mind. Secondary to the self-defense aspect of it, the self-protection, the self-knowledge that I can save the people around me through this martial art.
All right, so the self-protection, self-defense, I'll get to you in a second. Self-defense, self-protection component of this aside, what you just said, how would you, if you observed it in a student, what would you have to see to say, okay, they got it?
They got it. Okay. So, in that sense, it's the way that they put things together, the way they convey, because they have the same mindset now.
Okay.
That has to happen. When they start to convey, when they start to teach, being able to teach doesn't necessarily mean you're an instructor,
Right. No, no,
right?
that's fair.
And I don't want to say that we have instructors, but if I can teach it to you in the same way that it was taught to me, then we're now letting that go forward. That way, that mindset of the way that we teach. Because that, to me, that's the only thing different. You know, if I show you, again, there's only 10 things that the body will ever do. How you put those 10 things together, or once you know those 10 things, and how you put it together, that's totally up
The
to
letters.
you. Yeah, it's the letters, right? I don't have to teach you a word. I just have to teach you the letter.
Yeah.
Now, even within the letter, printing,
Yep.
what are they? Diagonal, horizontal, vertical lines.
Yep.
As it is. Oh, you have circles. Oh, the O. You know,
No, you know,
the zero.
you and I talked about, him and I were talking about the other day, is that, you know, I always said that, you know, if I can teach you the letter, you can build words. If you can build words, you can build sentences. If you can build sentences, you can build paragraphs. And then from there, you can write thousands of stories.
Yep.
And so each movement in and of itself is a letter.
Yep.
And you complete the word as you fill
And that's a
it.
great analogy.
Yeah, I think that's the best, because
Yeah.
as you elevate in your education in the known sense, you should be able to, you know, be eloquent in your speech.
To be able to convey
Exactly.
the message.
Exactly. Several ways. You can say the
Several
same
ways,
thing, you know, the same thing in 3 or 4 different ways and have that same message. So that allows you to communicate at whatever levels you want to communicate.
And there's the bladed mind.
Yeah.
Right? Because he'll teach it his way.
That's what we're
But
talking
the
about.
message, right?
That's
The
what we're
message
talking
is
about.
still
So my
there.
answer
Yeah,
to that
go
was
ahead.
just to get Danny to believe that I'm doing what he just said. Right? Because that's what I have done.
Yeah.
I've done everything that he just mentioned, and he sees that whenever I'm teaching somebody. To see that I got it and how I convey it, and I would do all those things that he just mentioned. And it's exactly what we expect out of Naeem, and he has shown that time and time again. You know,
He-
just
he
even in
can
talking with
convey
you,
it.
right? You hear it in his voice that, yeah. When he shows somebody something, okay, that's Danny and Rick.
Well, I was just say, when you talk to Naeem, you know that boy's always thinking.
Oh.
That young man. Excuse me.
Yeah,
That
oh
young
yeah,
man's
he
always
really
thinking.
is.
And I like seeing that in martial artists because, you know, and again, don't at me at anything, just I'm not being critical. It's preference, my preference. That's all I'm simply saying. When I have conversation with martial artists, I want to hear about what they're doing. I want to hear about their training. But where I really engage and want to pull them off into a quiet corner and have a conversation with them is when I hear them start talking about the depth of what they're learning. Because that's who I am. That's what I want to do. And I see that in Naeem. I hear it in Risa when she wants to open up.
Oh, I know, yeah.
But get her to open up
In
sometimes
her
is hard.
conversation, she really blew my mind a bunch of times when some of the things that she was talking to. I was like, wow, I didn't think it got in that deep. Did you watch that yet?
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought she was just really
It was hard though.
because
Yeah.
I think Danny was in the background making noise with another student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're teaching.
You distracted me.
Yeah.
I had to actually step away from it the first
I
time.
was distracted.
And he knew
watching.
what he was talking about.
You know, it's funny. I look at people like Risa. I look at people like Rebecca, and young ladies who are in the martial arts, and I think I made this comment to you. They really don't know the impact that they currently have now and could have in the future. Because I talked to Professor Auntie Denise Gonzalez, who is a small circle jiu-jitsu and judo person, and you know, we're working together to try to get more women to come to the Golden Dragon Ohana events, because there's a ton of women out there who are marvelous martial artists, but they're not being tapped, and that just breaks my heart, because I think women in general learn better than men. They're just
Yeah,
better
and ask
equipped.
Risa that, and she'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
she said as much.
I think what we as a community that's male dominated needs to do is get them out front, because whoever Reese is talking to, Rebecca's talking to, Auntie's talking to, and all the other women who I have not mentioned here, you know who you are, they need to be in front of that 8-year-old girl
I think so. Yeah, I
and say,
totally
yeah, you
believe that.
can swing a stick and a knife and defend yourself. And,
Well, the time when she was at a tournament, Risa, you know, a lot of the girls that were going up to her like, "Oh my God, you're incredible!" You know, she was fighting in the men's division, and they all just flocked to say, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, who are you? You know, and we tried to tell her, yeah, you made an impression on a lot of people here. And she's like, no, I didn't. You know, she's
Modest.
yeah. Oh, you gotta love her about that. She's awesome to listen to.
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's I have an affinity for giving time to. I'm going to say this way, young ladies, because my daughter, right? My daughter and I have wonderful conversations. I sit and chat with her on it. Thank God, because of COVID, every day. Right? We'll have a good conversation. But we were talking one time about leadership, and she goes, "Well, Dad, do you think he's a strong young man?" I said, no, I think he's a strong man. I said, I think he's a strong person, a strong leader. And she's like, well, what's the difference? I said, when you classify it as male or female, you take away from the true component of leadership.
Right.
Because, and she says, and keep on, I'm talking to like a 17, 18-year-old, so I said, you know, you got to understand that the components of what we're talking about is leadership. It has nothing to do with your gender or anything like that.
Right.
And if you stop and look at it, the martial arts has nothing to do with gender, other than maybe some changes in the mechanics of how you do things, right? Because you know, standard old school was that women didn't have a lot of upper body strength. I'll tell you, there's some gals I know that will do more pull-ups than I could ever do.
Exactly. Yeah, she's a powerlifter.
So for her, the transition into the what I would call a male-dominated way of training was easy. But you take my wife, who doesn't, she'll be the first one to admit she does not have a lot of upper body strength. You know, I have to modify a parry and include more of how, and that's where I came up with my changes to the stuff, and I'll show this with you quickly. So we have the one coming to parry, right? You just parry this way, right? And being a male, I'm a pretty big guy, I can just push my hand, right? Well, I was working with somebody, but not my wife, and then subsequently my wife shortly thereafter. And my wife, and I was coming in, and she wasn't pushing far enough, right? So I said, well, block your elbow and twist your body. Right? That's a common thing we all do, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, she was moving me. She was going this way, but it still wasn't. She was still, you know, still cutting her. And I said, now, lock your elbow, put your hand at a 45-degree angle. And she did that, boom, my arm went over here.
Right.
I grew with her.
Yeah.
That was developed right in that moment. So now all my blocking doesn't come this way. It comes in this manner here. Well, hell, where did we see that before, right? The Chinese Chi Sao. Look at the angling. So it's not, listen, I claim nothing. I steal from everybody. You get credit for it. If by some bizarre chance I develop something brand new, God gets the credit. So I'm like, okay, so it's in there. Because as soon as I did that and thought about it, I made the connection. So if you're a martial artist and you've been training for some time, and like these gentlemen were talking about, you know, it's like you were talking about, it's in there, and you were talking about it's in there. Set it aside, but visit it often.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that we talk about, even with our own stuff. Like in the beginning of our classes, we say, okay, we're going to show you these exercises. And they're really just exercises, how to stretch out, whatever. And then 3-4 months down the road, oh, you remember that exercise? Look what we're doing now. Oh! And they realize, okay, and that's why you picked it up so much, because you've already been doing it for so long.
That's a warm-up exercise.
And now that you understand what that motion is, you're always going to do that, and you're going to do that very strongly because you've been doing it very strong.
Now those 10 things that I was talking about earlier,
It comes those.
Yep.
that's what the exercises are.
You and I had a conversation about this when we first started talking.
Yes.
Just so you guys know, Danny works in the city that I live in from time, and there was a period of time before COVID we would get together like twice, maybe 3 times a month for lunch, and we would just talk, right? You would never show up.
Yeah.
I was working.
But one of the things, you know, we talked about this because, and again, this is not a tit for tat. I want to be clear about that. It's just an understanding that universally this energy's been out there and we're connecting to it. Because my warm-up exercises when I started class is I'll put a stick in hand. We call it the helicopter, right? The windshield wiper, right? Hammer the nail, flip the burger, and you know other things, right? So I tell them, I say, when I do it, you hear that. That's why we call it the helicopter. I call it the Huey, right? And I was doing class one time at Professor Bob's, and everybody was just kind of going like this. I said, "No, I want to hear the helicopter." And I went, okay, and all of a sudden you start hearing it, right? And I explained to him that